We are back for another Christian review of regular books and no spoiler review of The Inheritance by Kevin Lynch. For those of you who haven't seen one of these videos before, here's how it's going to go down. First, I do my regular review, what you know and love to expect from a book review, star rating, what I recommend it, what I thought, etc. But then I'm going to get into my Christian review, and that's where I'm going to go over basic pieces of a book that may or may not have a fellow believer or, frankly, anyone wanting to read it. I also give an age range at the very end of my review, so make sure to stick around for that if you're wanting to know if this is appropriate for your teenager. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date on everything that's happening over here with the journey we share, because not only do we have my Christian reviews coming out all the time, but we also have our podcast that comes out twice a month. Now let's go ahead and get into my regular review. The Inheritance by Kevin Lynch was the first ARC that I was ever given by a publisher, and I was so excited. An ARC, for those of you who don't know, is an advanced reader copy. It was given to me digitally online, and I was able to read it and write an honest review. So it was my very first experience in doing this for a publisher. On top of that, it was my first experience in reading rich family thrillers. I'd never really experienced that before. I also had never experienced a book outside of the United States that wasn't like a historical fiction outside of the United States. So this book really did have a lot of firsts for me that made me enjoy it a lot. I'm not gonna say that I probably would have enjoyed it as much if I read it now, but at the time that I read it, it was a pretty enjoyable book. I really appreciated that, like, right off the bat, it had some action, interest, and intrigue and suspense, and you wanted to know what happened. It's basically a murder mystery, but having to do with one family. It had dual points of view and a lot of different dynamics that made it interesting and engaging. Where I struggled was the middle started to slow down, and it felt like we were kind of just slogging through information to try to figure out what happened, and the very end didn't feel like a twist at all. Again, this is when I really had started first reading thrillers, and so I thought maybe that's what thrillers are like when you read them. Like, maybe you just know what's coming because you spend more time with the characters. And I'm not altogether determined that that's not true. However, I have since experienced books where I have no clue what's coming at the end, so I do think part of it is just a writing style. To me, it removed some of the suspense or unknowns and instead just felt like we were following a story that had a killing in the middle of it. I still enjoyed myself immensely in this book, and again, my reading was probably off a little bit because this was when I first started reading and rating books to tell you guys about it, but I'd probably rate it about a 3-star now. Let's go ahead and get into my Christian review. In my Christian review, the first topics I always love to touch on is smut or spice, and no, there really was not any scenes that were described or descriptive. There are romance subplots, but no descriptive spice scenes, so that's a win. The second category is explicit language, and there are a few words here and there. They are very easy to kind of read over. I don't think that it would take away from the story as a whole. And last but not least is violence or gore, because again, we're talking about a thriller, and there are minor scenes. However, nothing is explicitly described, and it's really left up to the reader's imagination about what the person in that story is seeing or experiencing. I think overall, the story is very clean and easy to read, and if you have a teenager who would be interested in reading it, I truly think this is probably appropriate for anyone ages 15 and up. I think this could be a great thriller option where you're reading about adults, but not in a way that's inappropriate for the teenage reader. If you want to see everything that I'm reading and rating, you can follow me on Goodreads, where I post almost every single day about where I'm at. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and I do have my own YouTube channel where I go over more of my day-to-day reading journey. Please know that we don't want to end the conversation here either, so leave us a comment down below about a book you would like me to review, or you can send us an email at hello@trokia.org. I cannot wait to see you on the next one.